Welcome back to another Straight Talk podcast with All Pest Solutions. I'm Wendell Daniel, founder and CEO of All Pest Solutions, and joining me again today is my son and partner and chief of operations, and I guess we'll call him the wildlife whisperer today,
or
Jacob Daniel.
The rat man's usually what I get.
Today we're going to talk about springtime in Texas as we open in March. It's kind of ironic that we have this podcast is basically airing today or being produced today on March the 2nd, just literally probably hours before we get our first epic storm that's developing and unfolding before our very eyes today. Kind of what our topic is today, really.
What, hail and tornadoes? Is that what we're talking?
Well, just how, springtime in Texas and how it affects our industry, I mean, March brings a lot of things in North Texas, but it's what we really call the kickoff of spring, and as our regular pest control starts exploding. But really how ironic as we unplay this today, how the storms and the weather and the temperature.
Pressure.
And pressure, barometric, all those things play a role in what we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like in some of the other segmented wildlife videos, I mean, that's where we started. We started with weather and pressure and all those things. But our business is very much seasonal. Everything that we do is built around the seasons, right?
Yeah.
Just like wildlife, of course, the fall and when it's cold and when the babies are due, and then we come into spring. And then the swarm season for termites, and summer, we start dealing with more chiggers and fleas and other things like that. And it just constantly rotates. But then we have the micro movements in between.
Right.
Like even the last couple of days, it's been hot, right? It's crazy hot for February. Was it 82, 85 degrees the other day? I've already been seeing ants starting to kind of kick up and start getting moving. The other bugs are rolling in. Spiders are starting to kind of set up shop right before we're going to get rocked tonight. And then a cold front's coming in, going to shut it all back down again.
Yeah, but, you guys, our listening audience, I say, should be seeing a trend with us of how weather and seasons play such a role in the animal kingdom. But, man, when it starts getting warm outside, man, the insect population anyway, it suppresses down, hunkers down to ride out the cold weather. But boy, as soon as it pops and starts getting warm and that ground temperature comes up, man, it just explodes.
Well, and even, like overwintering queens, whether all species, they'll do that, right? They overwinter into the house or into the dirt beside the house. All that starts kind of kicking back up. We were doing an exclusion job the other day, and with these chartreuse green shirts, I mean, the wasps were all over us, coming in and out of them eaves because it was warm that day.
Yeah. But, the call we're getting right now, that is, the answer, and they really going to pop up tomorrow after this rain we're fixing to get. And we've had plenty of rain in February, but we're fixing to get another big dose of it.
Yeah.
But the one call that's been the most common in the last, week or so is just, flying ants, or flying insects, and with about half of those calls come in thinking they're termites. And that's kind of what we want to talk about today is
forgot to mute that one.
Shut that off. Right now, if you're seeing flying insects, they're more likely ants. We kind of got our PowerPoint up today to kind of show you the difference there. But, historically, ants will produce winged members just on the heels of termites. And termites, obviously, usually, typically in North Texas, always starts to unfold middle of March, but more April, May.
Yeah. And even that's changed in the last 15 years.
It really has.
I mean, we still almost always have another ice storm of some sort coming in March and sometimes early April. Then again, even last April was kind of chilly, right? We had like a lot of 40 and 50 degree weather, during our hottest time of the year.
Yeah, our seasons have definitely moved a little bit in North Texas for sure.
It kind of pushed back and kind of pushed down.
I know tomorrow's, Amber's birthday. It has snowed on her March the 3rd several times in her lifetime already.
A ton.
Yeah. So And we're getting a cold front. That's obviously what's happening today is, the old cliche, the warm clouds are bumping into the cold clouds and things fixing to get riggedy raw out there.
Well, and as you know, though, like even now, like it with the storm coming tonight, it's bringing a cold front, and it may actually be cold, right? So we may not get a big push. It may drive rodents and squirrels nuts, right? But we may not kick the insects up yet. But when we're having the same crazy weather come April and May, then that's a little different, right? When that cold front's way, way different. When the cold front comes in and it's, 50 degrees or 60 degrees and better, and we went from 90 to 60 is a whole lot different from 70 to, 40, but we literally will sit around and prepare and wait for that storm in April,
right?
Because we're literally timing the humidity after and the heat after, and the termites will swarm.
Yeah. But it's just there again, it's not our first rodeo. We've been doing this a long time. We see how climatic events affect our business, and they really just do upset the animal kingdom in some form or fashion.
Yep.
The good news is if you're seeing swarming, insects right now, they're probably ants. Like I said, we gave you the deal there. An ant's got 3 segments, a termite's got 2, but we're just on the heels, like we said, of termites,
yep.
And like Jacob said, we've got to have a few more things in place before that happens with the termites. We laughed and said that, in Texas anyway, it's taxes, it's termites, it's tornadoes, they all come together. But if I had a nickel for every time termites swarmed on Easter Sunday in my lifetime, it's been many a time. I mean, it's 10 days either side of Easter Sunday and has been 100 years in North Texas.
Sure.
It has a lot to do with the things that we're talking about. Those nighttime temperatures have got to be right. They got to be in that 60, 70 degree range, and it always happens after a storm like we're fixing to get tonight.
Sure.
And that barometric pressure messes with them, and then we get the rainfall, and then it unfolds.
Yeah. Well, when it's thicker than a Snicker outside, that's when everything's going to get riggedy raw, if you will.
Yeah. And next month, is our podcast series next month's going to be 100% termites, because we're going to be right in the middle of when that unfolds. And we're going to kind of come to you and talk a little more biology with you and a little more how they work and all that. But we really want to just come to you today and say, man, spring is springing and it's warm and humid today. And, if you're having signs and having ant mounds pop up, if you don't have any ant mounds in your yard today, you will tomorrow.
Not possible.
As we know how geothermal and, how intelligent and complex just fire ants in general are, how that, I'm sure our consumers don't understand, but man, just think of that thing as a 10-story building. There's 4, 5, 6 stories in the ground, and they'll push 4 or 5 stories above the ground and move all up and down and change based on the water level and how wet it is and the temperature, and it's just fascinating.
It's going to drive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep. So what else you want to talk about today?
Well, we didn't really talk too much about what biology you had listed. Termites and layout. You want to talk about that? But I think it is important to denote, right? It is, which it's March now, but we're still weeks away from an actual swarm. But even with the ants, they're going to be swarming all along the time of when the termites will start to swarm.
Yep.
I guess we could talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, all right. So like termite wise, most of these of winged members, I guess it's easiest for them to notice is color, right?
Right.
Black with white wings is almost always termites, but with virtually no body segments to identify. But if you've got any winged members that are, maroon or red and black with wings, almost always ants. So you can kind of start there as far as your identification.
Yeah, and in North Texas, we have, both species of carpenter ants. We have the black Pennsylvanicas that are solid black, and then, but our most common that we see every day is the reds and the blacks. Yeah,
but you also have another subspecies, which is not necessarily carpenter ant, but they get misdiagnosed constantly. I bet we can go out to those crepe myrtles right there and find some right now before the storm hits. It's acrobats, right? They look very similar.
Yeah, they're the little brother to the carpenter ants that look almost identical.
Yeah.
Just their third segment is a little bit shaped different, and they act a little bit different with it. But
Teardrop. You know, it's
heart
that
shaped. Yeah. But I know that the office had several calls literally in the last 48 hours with swarming ants, and I'm sure this barometric pressure is pushing them, and having them pop a little early and really on time, I guess you'd say. But
even at that church in Richmond that we were at this afternoon, I mean, it's an older established church, and they were all over it, but they were kind of slow and sluggish and lethargic, but they were still kind of kicking around, and I bet that'll shut down tomorrow.
Yeah, and we, first thing we ask customers when they have that, say, hey, we'd have them, snap a picture, send it to us, let us make identification. That's another reason why we have a licensed person on the phone in our office where she can do that, make that identification legally, knows what she's looking at with Lana, and say, yeah, that's ants.
Yeah, and two, with the new software that we're running, all of our normal customers can go to their portal and upload a picture if they're questionable, and we'll receive it through the actual portal, save it on their account, and then we can confirm and deny based off of that too.
And probably 95% of the phone calls that's come in with swarming ants. In the last week, I all said, I think I got termites. So when we look and say, no, it's just one, it's too early. Two, it's ants. It's got 3 segments. We explain to them.
Within a certain exception, and we know this, right?
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, just like that other house we were talking about yesterday that we did wildlife exclusion on, and that's far west Plano, almost Frisco, almost the colony. Termites never stop moving, right? They never stop working. They work 24/7, 365. So they could find termites, but we're not at the swarm yet.
Right.
But if we're doing construction, we're ripping out a bathroom and we're doing flower bed work. Some people are doing that right now. You will find them, which I'm sure we'll cover more in depth in the next video or two when we really start to look at that.
Yep.
But you can always find them. No matter how cold, no matter how hot, it's always going to be there. It's the swarm that's specific.
Absolutely. Yeah, as we wrap up today, like I said, we just really wanted to, come back to you, open up, a podcast just about springtime in Texas. And, if you're new to Texas, welcome.
And it's coming.
Yeah. This is the time of year where Texas just kind of gets drunk and acts out a little out of hand, and just it is what it is. And, we deal with it, but it brings way more than just rainfall and erratic, changes in weather and hail and tornadoes and all those kind of things. It brings lots of insects with it too, and just know that we're here. Whatever's going on in your house when it comes to Animal Kingdom, we can handle it. And we can hook you up. Anything else as we close today?
I don't think so. I mean, so many people are so used to the bugs and know the bugs are coming. It's the termites we're really going to be focusing on the most. That's the one that's, most people know termites is bad, but don't know what all to look for, what all is going on. I mean, the ants are always an obvious case. You're going to see them trailing. You're going to see them building. And
the biggest thing there, I guess we'll close with is you may experience those before our next podcast, because we normally do that about the 3rd week of the month. And
that's fair.
The 15th, like I said, April 15th, taxes, termites, Easter Sunday, all of that is always so close together. Some of you may experience that. There again, termites are 2-segmented, black with white wings. If you do experience that, if within doubt, just give us a call.
They may be building swarm castles, maybe by the end of March. So that's something to consider, right? In the top side, I mean, I guess in a standard sheetrock wall up there at the top, just below the top of the ceiling, if there's a little, basically like a little dirt mud hand sticking out from the wall. If you notice that's a problem.
Yep.
That's the precursor to the swarm that's coming.
Yeah, because that kind of like we talked about even in the series on wildlife, how it all begins to build months in advance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that queen's kicking out. There's a lot of process going on right now. It's just, again, the average homeowner realizes they have termites when they swarm in the spring. That's when most people realize it. And that train's left the station, and it's already happening. You just may not be seeing the signs just yet.
That's the smoke to the fire.
Yep. But it's coming, and, there's things to look for. But if when in doubt, just give us a call. We can handle it all. Whatever it is, we can fix it. It's not the end of the world.
Yep.
So we hope you enjoyed our podcast today. Just as we open spring, we'll be back to you in about 3 or 4 weeks, and we will talk in depth on termites. We appreciate you joining us today for another straight talk with All Pest Solutions.